Want to know how I lost over 150 pounds? Man, it is a crazy story full of ups, downs, twists and turns, a lot of setbacks, a lot of failure. Well, I guess things that felt like failure at the time, but it is a wild ride. So buckle up and welcome to Beyond the Scale. So here's the deal. I don't know you and you don't know me, so allow me to introduce myself. My name is Sammy, and we're gonna take a deep dive on how I went from 390 pounds all the way down to 232. And like I alluded to before, there was a lot of speed bumps and potholes along in that journey, right? So let's start back at the beginning. You might be wondering, why would somebody even balloon up to that weight? Well, there was a bit of childhood trauma with a dash of emotional abuse and depression, right? But since we're just getting to know each other, we're not gonna dive into all that right now. Let's just keep it light and go from there. So let's talk about the starting point, 390 pounds. Man, I was fat, sick, and nearly dead, okay? And I was in my early 20s, had just gotten married when I was really thinking, I have got to do something. And so I started my first diet. In 2009, I was like a giant punk rock marshmallow, okay? It was a crazy time, and what I was doing, because I was so heavy and depressed, I was, getting tattooed, I was piercing my lips and doing everything to try and compensate for how insecure I felt on the inside. But when I started that weight loss journey in 2009, this was pretty much what it consisted of. I ate chicken and broccoli every meal, every single day. And I tell you what, I am so sick of chicken. I can't even look at a chicken breast anymore. But that was what I was doing. And then what I would do for the exercise portion is I would, and I had to work up to this, but I would walk 5 miles a day. And at that time, I was at 360 pounds. Then I went down to about 275. But here was the deal. I never did any sort of counseling or anything like that to take care of what was going on up here. You're gonna see that that is gonna be a theme throughout this journey. And so here's what happened. It was a slippery slope, and like so many others, I lost that weight and I gained it all back and more. And when it came back with a vengeance. So dive into 2012. I ballooned up to my heaviest weight that I ever was, 390 pounds, tipping that scale, man. And it was a wild time. I was at my heaviest, and I was starting to now feel the physical pain from carrying all of that weight for so long. I was having back issues, I could barely walk, and I was working a job that required me to be on stage for long periods of time. I was performing music and unloading and loading the gear and setting everything up. It was a hard battle week in and week out doing that all of the time. And so I was desperately trying to do something. I tried so many times to kickstart. Let me go back to eating chicken and broccoli. Let me do this. And I would lose 10 pounds, gain it back, lose a little bit more, gain it all back in this cycle. And it became harder and harder. So then I started doing some research on weight loss surgery. I wanted somebody who was a specialist, who was also going to be affordable. And so that led me to the Nicholson Clinic in Dallas, Texas. And that was Dr. Nick Nicholson, like such a crazy name. He sounds like a pro golfer or something like that, right? And so I went down, had my consultation. It all happened so fast. I mean, when you're paying cash for a surgery, they move you to the front of the line, okay? You don't have to go through the same restrictions that you go through when you are paying with insurance. Now, you're gonna see later on that that wasn't necessarily a positive thing. So during that time, I lost a lot of weight. I went from 390 pounds down to 275 pounds. So I got back to my absolute lowest that I had ever been at that time. And it was an awesome experience. But I, again, wasn't taking care of my mental health. I still had these demons in the closet that I was trying to work through. So that leads us to 2018. And at this time, I had started to balloon back up. I believe I got up to 333 pounds. I sound so exact on that number, right? And so I was over 300 again, starting to have issues, but now I'm even more depressed, right? Because I did what I thought was the most extreme thing by having that gastric sleeve surgery. And here I am, back over 300 pounds, hurting, all of the same things, and emotionally eating like never before. But I wasn't ready to give up on myself just yet. And this was when the keto diet really started to become a big deal. And so I thought, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna take back my life and I'm gonna just commit. Now, admittedly, back then I was doing, what do they call it? Keto, right? Or is that how you say it? I don't know. What does it matter? But what I mean by that is I was doing all of the bacon was there, right? All of the cheese was there. I'd go to Wendy's or McDonald's or whatever. I'm just loading up. And, I was losing weight too. And I was starting to work out. I had a lifting buddy that I was working out with at the time. And it was such a positive time. I even started a blog back then on Instagram. And I was like, man, this is going so well. I'm killing it right now. And I got down to 262 pounds. And what's funny about when you reach a goal weight is if you're not careful, you can start to feel like, all right, I've arrived. And you take your foot off the gas pedal. And when you do that, again, you start to slip up. I started to get so confident in that season of my life that I could start to indulge. There was a specific trip that my wife and I went on. We went to New York City, baby. While we were there, we were indulging in all of the good stuff, from great pizza to bagels, which, oh my gosh, nothing like a hand-shaped boiled bagel, baby. And so we were indulging on that trip. Next thing I know, every week we started going, all right, well, let's have a cheat meal. And then it turned to a couple of cheat days. Then it was a cheat weekend. And then most of the week was cheating. And again, I started to balloon back up. Why am I telling you this? Why do I keep driving it home? What feels like I failed so many times is because I want you to see that if a guy like me, a dum-dum like me can do this, you can do this too. You have to just not give up. But during that time, and again, there was the emotional side of it, right? I was overeating because I was stressed, depressed, and never had dealt with the main issues going on in my life. And so I ballooned back up over 350 pounds at this point. My back, because I was older, I'm into my 30s now at that point. And y'all know that once you dive into your 30s, things start clicking and feeling a little bit different. You don't seem to bounce back like you used to. So I remember it got to the point where my back was so bad that I was walking around with a cane like an old man. And my IT band, when I would have a back issue, my IT band would get so tight. And where I was working at the time, one of my friends, he also was a nurse. And so he would end up, I'd lay on the ground and he'd be stretching me out and everything like that. It was humbling. It was embarrassing. And I was really going, man, something has got to change. I was in so much pain at this point in my life that the thought of exercising or even going on a walk just seemed impossible. And so I just decided at this time that I was going, and this was now in 2020, right before the pandemic, I started to decide, I think I need to explore maybe having a revision surgery on my gastric sleeve. And so I called up my doctor, the one that I went to originally, Dr. Nick. And it was a humbling phone call because I'm confessing to him, you helped me get where I wanted to go before, but then I didn't handle things properly. I didn't take care of my mental health, my emotional well-being, and I've ballooned back up. It was the most humbling phone call. And I remember talking to Dr. Nick and I said, do you think it's possible that I could get back down to 275 pounds if I have the surgery again? And he said to me, yeah, Sam, it's possible, but you know, it's going to depend on you. The ball's in your court now. And I said, man, okay, well, do you think it might be possible that I could even go beyond that? And this is where he was just raw honest with me. He said, Sam, you got down to 275 before. You know, I can't promise you're going to get any lower than that. Is it possible? 100% is. But you've got to take care of why you overate to begin with. And if you can do that, I do believe that you're going to be wildly successful this time around. So I flew back down to Texas. And when I saw Dr. Nick for the first time, he sat me down and he said one of the most inspiring and encouraging things to me. Now, no matter what your religious beliefs are, I'm not here to debate that, but if you are unfamiliar with Christianity, one of the big things is when you, after you have confessed your heart to Jesus, you end up getting baptized. And it's like this public expression of this inward thing that you have done, this inward commitment. And so Nick talked to me like that. And he said, listen, when you go under and you have this surgery, I want you to treat this like baptism. I want you to go under the water and come up differently. And we had an emotional moment together. I remember with tears in my eyes, I said, I want that too. And I committed to two things. Number one, that I was going to come out of this surgery different. And number two, that I was going to start going to counseling as well to help me get through this journey. And so we did. So I had the surgery, and it was such a different recovery experience than the first time. All laparoscopic. It was so easy. I bounced back so quickly. I lost 100 pounds in 3 months, which is wild. It was such a wild experience. And then I added on top of that, going to counseling and really dealing with a lot of that childhood trauma that I alluded to before. And it was so helpful. I was clicking in a whole another direction. I started working out more. I was going on walks and, doing different things to try and be healthy. And I had kept the weight off for the next 3 years. And what I had done in that time period, because I got all the way down from my start weight of 390 pounds years ago down to 232 pounds. It was incredible. I was so proud of myself. And I had built a confidence in myself and really a trust with myself that I was ready to take what would be the next step in the journey. See, I was ready to get rid of the excess skin that I was carrying around. When you are that big and you lose as much weight as I did, I had started to convince myself that it wasn't just extra skin and that I just needed to lose more weight. But one of my friends, my best friend in the world, Nate, he said to me, bro, I love you, and I'm just going to be honest with you. There is no amount of exercise that you're going to be able to do. There is no amount of starving yourself that you're going to be able to do, which is unhealthy, and I wouldn't have wanted to do that anyways. But there's nothing that you can do to make that skin go away except go and meet with a surgeon to have skin removal surgery. And that's what I did in September of 2023. I didn't go down to Texas this time. I went to Cleveland, the Cleveland Institute of Plastic Surgery, Dr. Jason Leedy. And I had done a lot of research on him. I followed the reviews and some of the videos that he had posted about his processes and everything. And when I met with him, he instantly made me feel super comfortable and confident that he was the right guy to do this procedure. And so I went under the knife September of 2023, and man, it was a different experience. Now, he had advised me, because really I was going to be having 2 surgeries at the same time if I wanted to do that. The one was the circumferential abdominoplasty. This is where they were going to cut me all the way around my body and remove that excess skin. But then also I needed gynecomastia as well, because I had some extra tissue in my chest that needed to be handled. And he was trying to encourage me, Sam, I don't know that I really want you to do both surgeries at once. It's going to be 8 hours in surgery, and it's going to be an intense recovery, not like you're just doing the one or the other. But there was this element of fear and a little bit of confidence though. And I just said, Doc, I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like if I don't have both at the same time, I'm going to get one done, and then the recovery is going to be so crazy just from that one that I'm never going to want to come back and get the other one done. So I want to take a jump off the high dive and just go all in on doing both surgeries at once. And you can see from the video that I'm showing right now of the after of, this was the day after surgery when they were undoing the dressings for the first time, and we're kind of looking at the scope of what had happened there. And I was cut from my armpit all the way down the sides on both sides so they could do the chest work. They cut the bottoms on my nipples. Woo, baby, that was something. And then they cut me all the way around my torso and removed all of that extra skin. That was a wild experience. And we're gonna do another video just on that as well. It's gonna be a good deep dive on it. But the recovery, you might be wondering, did that kick my butt? Absolutely. I've never been so tired in my life. The pain was actually not that bad. But me, I'm a person that is always on the go, a little bit more high energy now in my life, which is a total contrast to how I used to be before. But with that being said, when it zapped me like that, it zapped the energy, I was so just blown away by that. The recovery was 6 weeks of really not doing much of anything, just letting my body heal. But I am so happy with the results. After the swelling had gone down and everything, I started to feel really encouraged. For the first time in my life, I had a totally flat tum-tum, and I was like, man, this is crazy. I don't even know who I am anymore. And confidence and peace and healing have all been coming and building up together. And so I'm so thankful. So here's what I know and what I've learned along the journey is that your mental state, whatever you're going through, you've got to talk to somebody. You've got to take care of the reasons why you overate to begin with. Because if you don't handle the problem at its root, then you're not gonna be successful long term. You gotta find peace in here and in here. And once you start to do that, then you start making the positive steps moving forward in your weight loss journey, and you'll start to see some really great success. The other thing that was really big that I learned was that you can't give up. You gotta keep fighting every single day to find health and happiness and peace. That was the one thing, is that I was always curious about the potential of who Sammy could really be. And so I never wanted to give up on him. And I'm so thankful for the person that I was then who wouldn't give up on the person that I am now, that potential of who it was. And when you put your mind in a healthy place, you have the tenacity that you're not giving up. I heard this quote recently, is that it says, what the mind believes, the body achieves. There's something about manifesting things. I am a big believer in this, not even with just my health, but in my own personal business. I have visualized things and set them as that vision, that North Star, and I've accomplished a lot of amazing things in a short period of time. But it's because of what I've learned through that journey of weight loss and healing mentally and emotionally that has helped me go and take things to another level in my life. Listen, if this video is helpful to you, I just hope that you would just not only like it, but man, hit that subscribe button so that we can continue to do this. I'm gonna be posting videos like that. We're gonna have shorts every single day. You're gonna see what I eat. You're gonna see what I do for workouts and exercise. And listen, I can promise you this, I'm not the guy that's gonna teach you how to get jacked and tan, but I am the guy that's gonna encourage you to keep fighting. Keep going one more day. And if a day feels overwhelming, say that you're gonna go one more hour. And if an hour seems overwhelming, 1 second at a time. You are worth it. Keep fighting.